Okay, let's take a look at React syntax. So what I'm going to do is just make this a touch smaller, just move that down. I'm going to go into my src, my source folder, and go into app.js. And this looks really, really, really bizarre. I'm going to make this even just a touch smaller there, because we don't need the terminal for this lesson. And this looks really bizarre. So if you're used to just writing vanilla JavaScript, you might have never even seen an import command before. This might be brand new to you. And if that is brand new to you, that's okay. We will talk about that. We'll get a little bit of experience with that as well. We see a function which looks just like a regular function in JavaScript, and a return statement with an opening parentheses. And if we go down here, there's a closing parentheses that matches it. You can see this line highlights up here. And then we have a div. Now this looks weird because we're not using a string. We're not using a template literal in JavaScript. We are using straight HTML. And in fact, this actually gets a little bit weirder just because we're not just using HTML, we're using this thing called JSX, which is basically XHTML. So it's HTML similar to normal HTML5, but it's written inside of our JavaScript, which is pretty nuts to see. So if this is your first time looking at this and you're like, whoa, I either don't like this or I have no idea what's going on, bear with me for a little bit. It gets a lot easier and it gets pretty nice to work with down the road. So let's just read through this line by line. We have a div, and notice that it's not class. Class is an actual name in JavaScript. It's a keyword. We can't use that. So we use class name is equal to app. We see the same thing here and here. We have an image. Its src is, well, this looks a little bit bizarre. So instead of a file like logo.svg, we've imported logo.svg. So let's go and open this file. It's just a regular SVG file. We've imported that as a variable called logo. Whenever we use one of these in React, we say the attribute name or the property name is equal to, and instead of having quotation marks on either side, like we usually do in HTML, we have curly brackets, an opening curly bracket and a closing curly bracket. And then we put that variable name inside of it. And what that's going to do is inject this logo directly into this image source. Again, we have class name, not class name. It's a JSX attribute, and we can see that here. As soon as I hover over this, it says it's a JSX attribute. And regular alt tags and class names, yada yada. Paragraph with some code, standard HTML. We have a link in here, class name, but the href is the same, the target is the same, the rel is the same, and it says learn React. One thing to note though is in your return statement, notice that we're using a bracket or a parentheses at the beginning and the end here. We also wrap everything inside of a div. So you can't just type regular text. You actually need to have an HTML element with more code inside of it. And so that is one little quirk with React. But if I just make sure that my server is running here, looks like it is, it's on localhost 3000, this is what we're going to see. Now to change this, let's say I wanted to change this line here, all I have to do is change this text. And then when I save it, and this is a really nice thing, it automatically reloads my browser for me. So by time I get back to Chrome or Firefox or Safari, it has changed for me. It's live updated. I don't have to hit refresh, which is really nice because sometimes that gets pretty annoying if you do that enough in a day. All I have to do is type. And you see that it live changed right in front of me. And it's almost instant. So I'm going to hit save, and then I'm going to move over to Chrome real fast, and you're going to be able to see it actually change. So it was very, very quick, but we did see it change. So what I'm going to do is just do that. You can see that every time I save my app.js, that node is updating as well. So it says it's compiling every time I hit save. Compiling, compiling, compiling. So your task for this lesson is I want you to open up your app.js, make sure your server is running, and just change a little bit of text. Don't worry about the logo or anything advanced. Just worry about changing the text, and in your browser, it should change the text for you. Once you have that up and running, let's head on over to the next lesson.